When I was young, my brother and I built a boat with our father. We spent several years sailing and exploring the Patuxent River. And then I met Tony.
Peter and I spent many happy times on that boat, and so when we got married, we built a larger boat and ventured out into the Chesapeake Bay and its many rivers.
We crewed on larger boats with dreams of sailing the world, but then life took another turn.
Today, we look forward to retirement with dreams of leaving it all behind. Come join us on our journey to sail the seas.
Where are we going?
We're going to my brother's house to fly my drone. I got a DJI Mini 2 for Christmas, and this is the first opportunity I get to fly it. This is my third drone. The first drone I crashed. The second drone just flew away. Just had a mind of its own and flew away, kept on going. So this is a quality drone. DJI makes a great drone, so we're going to fly that in a wide open space so I can get some practice for the drone.
Why do you need a drone?
Well, I think the drone's nice for taking a third-person video. Somebody from the outside looking in, you know, like if you're sailing a boat, you can actually get video of the boat sailing, or, you know, closer to lighthouses and get that third-person view. So I think it's the next step of the video of the channel. So I got to practice.
You think you'll crash today?
I hope not. It's supposed to be idiot-proof, and I think we're going to put that to the test.
Right, let's go.
Everything locked? Put it on, recording. Haven't done anything yet. Okay, waiting for it to connect. Here we are. Okay, I'm gonna get here. Okay. Got a good signal. Got 11 locks on GPS.
The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
At the home point. And start it up.
Take off.
Oh, I need to record. Record. I sped the video up. The point of the first flight was just to fly a little bit distance and get a feel for the controls and the third-person view by looking through my iPhone. It was quite disorienting at first, trying to keep your eye on the drone and then looking at your screen. But pretty soon I just ended up looking at the screen and flying through the landscape. I chose this area because I am well familiar with this farm. Joseph and his wife grew up there, and we hiked and did this farm for many, many years, and I know every inch. So if something had happened and the drone fell out of the sky, I would have known how to get it. I would have known where it was, and it wasn't over water. It wouldn't have splashed, except with the exception of this pond coming up. But for the most part, I felt comfortable flying it here. I was flying at an altitude of 165 feet. It really wasn't this jerky. It's just because I sped the video up. Otherwise, we'll be here all day watching me slowly flying almost a mile away from the launch point. We were standing right about here in the shade of those trees, quite a little bit of distance. I turned it around and started bringing it closer when the signal started flashing yellow. It still had all the bars, but it turned yellow, and I kind of panicked and brought it back. Monica wanted to fly it, so I handed it over to Monica to let her fly it. You can see us standing there. That's the Patuxent River in the background. That's the river that we sailed up not too long ago in the Seaman 1260. What are you doing?
I'm flying the drone.
If you crash it, you owe me a DJI Mini 3.
No, I'd get you the same version. Get myself the new version.
Just don't let this person touch it. He's crashed everything with wings and propellers.
Even wooden balls.
Where are you? You already flew it out of sight, didn't you?
I
It's
did.
over there, but it's far away.
I don't see it. Ugh.
Oh yeah, I see where we're at.
She's scaring the hell out of me flying my expensive drone. Hopefully we'll get some good footage, but we'll see how it goes. Monica did not do a bad job. She didn't crash it anyway. She flew it around, played with the gimbal, spun it around. These really are kind of idiot proofs. If it wasn't for the $600 I paid for it, I would have probably been more free. Maybe when I get more experience, I will experiment a little bit more. I took the controls back for Monica, decreased the altitude, and brought it up close to ourselves. It's my wave. I got 33%. Look how the way I'm getting old. The video stabilization was pretty good. You can see the wind blowing through these trees. The wind was blowing about 10 knots, but yet the video was pretty steady. Far better than I could do by hand. One flight down, one battery down. We got 2 more batteries. I flew that about, how far would you say that was? It was 4,000, over 4,000 feet away. And then I panicked once the signal blinked yellow. I was like, oh, I'm bringing it back. Well, that's pretty far.
And then he tells me I almost hit a tree in the middle of a field where there are no trees.
It's kind of a breezy day, but it seemed to work very, very well, so we'll see. I want to think with the next flight, I'll go a little bit higher and head over to the park and see what's happening over there.
I'm gonna take it into the water
No,
just to see what happens.
Yeah, I know what's happening. Of course, I could use a DJI Mini 3. I had a little bit more confidence for the second flight. I ended up flying it over towards Patterson Park area of the King Reach Farm. King Reach Farm sits just off of Patterson Park. It used to be part of the park. I think actually it is part of the park again. I went up to an altitude of 300 feet and headed over towards Patuxent River. And if you're familiar with the park, the kayak launching area. I tested the swivels and the height and the tracking. I saw a car go by, so I figured, let me see if I can track it. Of course, remember, this is sped up 5 times, so this is really 5-minute video condensed down to 1-minute video. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. Headed back. I couldn't see where we are, but I'm familiar with the farm, so I just followed the road back. That's the Patuxent River, looking south, headed back to the King Reach Farm. This is where my brother's wife grew up. They used to live right there next to that house before they built their new house on the farm. That's St. Leonard Creek way off in the distance. And if you look way off in the distance, you'll get a glimpse of the Chesapeake Bay and even the Columbia gas docks over there, just in the center to the right. I flew around just trying to become familiar the best I can with the controls and the third-person view by looking on the screen. My brother and Monica, they had eyes on the drone every now and then. It's a beautiful countryside in Calvert County. This is down towards the end of Maple Road. Of course, Patuxent River and St. Leonard Creek. I brought the drone down a little bit just to get a lower view. I wanted to test out the sport mode, normal mode, and cine mode along the ground. just to see how they act in the speed. The sport mode actually moves it quite fast. The cine mode, which I guess stands for cinematic, everything is a lot slower and smoother. It did pretty well. I didn't want to risk landing in the grass and tearing up a blade or something, so I commandeered an old FedEx box about the size of a medium pizza box to use as a landing pad. Of course, it was a little bit small, a little bit trickier to master, but I was able to land and take off of it just fine using the camera. Once lined up with my great landing pad, I just put in auto land mode where she came down, the gimbal levels out, and the propeller shut down. I let the drone cool down for about 15 minutes between flights. We put in the third battery, and this was going to be our last flight of the day. The intent of this test flight was just to go up and reach an altitude about 300 feet and just kind of look around and check out the landscapes and the distant sights, such as the Patuxent River, the Bay, Solomons, and that stuff. This is where I ran into trouble. The old iPhone 6 I was using as a view went dark. I rebooted it, and then it went dark again. Apparently the battery had died, and I did not even realize it was running low. With no iPhone 6 or the third person view, I could still see the drone off in the distance, but I could not tell the orientation. I hit the return to home function, but that didn't work. So I lowered the altitude, and then I tried adjusting the various courses to see if I could see which direction it was moving. Once I got the orientation of the drone, I was able to turn around and head back towards us in the blind. I was kind of scared. I didn't want to lose my drone. You can see me tweaking the courses here. And then finally I realized which direction it was heading and was able to guide it directly back to us. It's a very small drone, and it disappears quick, or the direction while it's hovering there, you can't always tell without having the camera active on your screen.
Dad is filming because his phone died.
Yeah, now I can't fly it out of sight.
You almost flew it into the power lines.
Almost flew it on my head.
That wasn't almost. I don't even know how to grab it without the propellers. Now, I like what I got. Come on, Wes.
Give this video a thumbs down, since he didn't try to catch it.
If I will I get thumbs up?
Sure.
Thumbs up! Thumbs up! See, that's like a fear. Once you make the decision to catch it, to grab it, you just grab it. All I want to do is take off, take a nice panoramic view of Hunting Creek and land safely. And I'm going to declare this flight is a success. This is my 10th flight, so we'll see. Wish me luck. I didn't understand what killed the battery on the phone, but I went home, charged the battery for the drone, charged my phone back up, and then walked down to Hunting Creek. I wanted to test to see how this thing would do in cinematic mode. This is a video footage shown in real time. I didn't speed this up or anything. I was about 200 feet and I was just flying it in cinematic mode, trying to get some smooth transitions while turning the drone, playing with the gimbal up and down and looking around just to see how this drone will handle. Hunting Creek is obviously a marshland. I was kind of nervous flying over the water in case I had issues with the drone. It would have probably just splashed in the mud, the water, or into the marsh. I did have a canoe there just in case if I had to make a last-ditch effort to rescue it. The drone performed okay. It was hard to see the drone in the naked eye where you were flying, so the screen was required to see the direction of the drone. Of course, you had to be familiar with the landscape. There is a map on the Fly More app with DJI, so if you do get really confused and you don't know where the drone is, you don't know where you are, you can use the map and fly the drone back to yourself. Now this is only if the screen is up and running. If the screen is not up and running, obviously you won't have a map to look at. So I was kind of nervous. I don't know why the phone went dark on me. The movement of the drone was steady, provided a very nice stable platform for the camera. I could gimbal up and down. You can see me and Tony standing on that dock flying it. And then I decided, let's ascend another 100 feet and take a look around the landscaping. Now that I could see it closer with the naked eye. As we ascend to 300 feet, it really reveals the landscape. The fields that were tucked away behind the trees, the Patuxent River off in the distance, the Hunting Creek marshes. This was low tide. Now, while I still had visual eyes on the drone, it was very difficult to tell what the orientation was without me moving the controls forward or backwards. Okay, so what happened? First thing, the return to home button didn't seem like it was working. I looked into it and I realized that I wasn't holding the button in long enough. When you hit the return to home button, it pauses any function that the drone's doing and stops it. I needed to hold that button in for the return to home to operate and bring the drone back to me. So that was a lesson learned. I need to test that out, but that explains why that wasn't working. The next issue we ran into is, why did the iPhone power off, leaving me in the dark? I had to really look into this and analyze it. And what happened was, at the farm, this was the third flight, and apparently the little iPhone 6 was burning through a lot of CPU, and the CPU, or the battery charge on the phone, had dropped to below 20%. At that point on the third flight, the iOS operating system, which is running the latest version for the iPhone 6, made the determination that there was not enough juice to meet the CPU requirements and shut the phone down. I rebooted the phone, and once I rebooted it up, the iOS operating system realized that it went down and then reconfigured the phone into what's known as peak performance capability. I never even knew that existed, but apparently it's a thing. If you go to your settings and battery and look at the health of your battery, I now saw a message that said this iPhone has experienced an unexpected shutdown because the battery was unable to deliver the necessary peak power. Performance management has now been applied to prevent this from happening again. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that when I came home and charged my batteries and flew it, and I started getting a message, mobile device CPU fully loaded, performance will be degraded. That was a result of the iOS reconfiguring for the peak performance capability. In the end, the iOS 6 just doesn't have enough ponies under the hood to really process the high CPU requirements of the DJI Mini with the video. Now, I didn't have the video local recording or anything set, but apparently it kind of drove the CPU up on the phone. Well, why did the phone stop charging? That's a good question. I was kind of surprised to see that. I had it plugged in to the DJI control. I had the option set to charge the iOS phone. But what I didn't realize at the time, even though I had set that option, was that it's not a persistent setting. Meaning every time I powered up that controller, I would have to go back in there and re-enable that mode. So while I was thinking that the iPhone was charging because I was plugged in, it was never charging. So the high CPU usage of the drone just burned through my battery rather quick. So that's why the iPhone wasn't charging. The next issue I realized was, why did I lose the footage? I kept getting some clips that were corrupted. And it dawned on me that while you're filming with the GoPro, it will film 5-minute clips and then shut it down and start another 5-minute clip. But when I landed the drone, I would walk over there and turn the drone off. I needed to shut that recording down before powering down the drone. By powering it down without closing or shutting down the recording, it corrupted the end of file, and that clip that it was filming at that time was destroyed, and I could not recover that. So that's what happened there. Lessons learned. What do I like about the drone? I mean, the drone is small. It fits in your pocket rather nicely. It comes with the Fly More kit, which has all the batteries and everything. So, I mean, you can take it just about anywhere. And it's convenient to carry. You don't need a license for it because it's so small and so light. It took very stable footage. Flying it in the wind, the video was very stable, like it was on a brick wall or something. So I really like that. This particular drone is a DJI Mini 2. Does not have the advanced features like the follow me or the obstacle avoidance. But it was a entry-level type of drone, so if I'm going to crash something, I might as well crash a $600 drone rather than a $2,000 drone. So it's a nice drone to kind of learn on, and which is why I bought it. I could easily fly this drone from the boat, especially at anchor. I can take off, fly it and land it on a bimini roof or the deck or somewhere. Underway, while we're sailing along, yes, I can easily hand launch the drone, wouldn't be a problem. But bringing it back to the boat or bringing it back to the moving boat, it could be very challenging. I don't picture Tony trying to catch it. I don't picture Tony trying to fly it so I can catch it. So I don't know how we're going to do that. I guess we'll just have to practice on some scenarios, and we might just bring the boat to a stop, land it, and then move on our merry way. I need a lot more practice. Now, what do I like to see on a drone like this? I know this is entry level, so I shouldn't be complaining all that much, but I would like to see a return to home update button on the controller itself. If you're moving along, once you start flying it, it updates to return to home. But if you're moving, that return to home is still in a static location. So if you move half a mile away, it's going to return to home half a mile from where you're at. Now you can get into the app and you can go and keep updating it within the app while you're flying it. But it sure would be convenient to have a button on the controller that says, hey, update my return to home here, where the controller is. Or you even have the ability to program a function key to do that. Now there is a function key, but I could not figure any way out to program it to a return to home feature. Theoretically, if DJI is bored, they could create a function like a follow return to home, where you can set an option and the DJI Mini return to home will be wherever your controller is. So if you're moving along, when it comes time to return to home, it will follow that controller. So if I'm sailing along on a boat and I'm a distance away flying and lose signal, it would return to home where the controller is. Now I realize the boat's moving, we lost the signal, but it could return to home where the boat was. And if it picks up the new signal, just follow me right back on the boat. Anyway, if you like what we're doing here, subscribe to the channel. Click the like button, bang the notification bell so you can get notified when we issue new episodes. And I think this will do it for this episode. I will continue practice with this drone. If I come up with anything useful, I will update the comments or maybe do a new video. I'll see you in the next episode.
What's wrong with you?
I'm going to bed. Mm.